Welcome back to the Arsenal podcast. No Arsenal shot, that is no matter. I'm smart and tired. Two stories to talk about, interesting stories. One, Nicola Pepe could have cost Arsenal 85 million because Napoli had reportedly offered 85 million. So the mambo jumbo in the deal was not that we paid a higher price, but it was because we paid a lower price. Really, I think we should look at that. But there is also an issue in the dressing room, and Andy Cole is fueling up disrespect in our dressing room, that Mikel Arteta disrespected Alexander Lacazette by starting Willian over the weekend against Manchester City as the centre forward, leaving Lacazette and Edin Nketiah both on the bench. Let's talk about that. Smash up the likes, get in your comments, and then let's get the party started. First and foremost, Andy Cole, of course, is one of the Premier League's greatest, bowlers and players. Much respect to him is given. He says Mikel Arteta's decision to start Willian as a half nine instead of Alexander Lacazette this season, this player who has been, and I don't want to say he has been on fire, because the goals he has scored are not really impressing for me. They don't impress me. He's not impressing me as a striker, but somehow he has some shots into the net. Andy Cole thinks Mikel Arteta's decision to start Willian as false nine is very disrespectful of Alexander Lacazette, who is a natural striker, who's a natural nine. And he says, when you have a striker like Alexander Lacazette, who is also your top scorer, why do you start Willian? Of course, Mikel Arteta's statement was very clear, and in his defense, he said starting Willian was just a way of allowing us to use better tactics, to use a diversity of tactics. That is what he said in his press conference after the game, which I believed in. Clubs like Liverpool have always had players like Divock Origi, but they use Roberto Firmino. He's a false nine, right? I've never seen Andy Cole slam Liverpool. I've never seen Andy Cole slam Liverpool. And I think at times matters of team selection, matters of who plays where and when, must be left solely in the hands of the manager. Because I don't think Andy Cole has managed football. He hasn't. So it's not as easy as just placing numbers and heads on the pitch. So this time I'm gonna be with Mikel Arteta. Yes, I know it was a big problem. It caused a big fuss. Alexander Lacazette, probably if he had started, we would have had another dimension to the game. But his manager, his Arsenal manager, he has worked for that. We believe in him. He has proved, to us beyond reasonable doubt that hey guys, I can be a good manager. 1-0 loss against Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium, it doesn't qualify us to start questioning whatever thing he has done. There are things I question in that game, like not starting Thomas Partey or not bringing him earlier on the pitch, but starting Willian as a false nine. Aubameyang was on that pitch. It was, Willian is not a static, player. They could have exchanged whenever they wanted with Aubameyang, and we have always wanted to see Aubameyang as the center forward. So, in my opinion, yes, I appreciate Andy Cole's, fear, the disrespect and so on, but this is just going to cause a lot of problems in our dressing room. Imagine that chemistry between Aubameyang and Lacazette and Mikel Arteta. If we lose that, and our dressing room falls apart, Arsenal will be over. Remember, one of the things that Unai Emery had failed to do was to, sew up the relationships, the ties that bound the players. The dressing room was gone. So, Andy Cole, Alexander Lacazette, I appreciate Alexander Lacazette should have had a hand in that game, because in all the games he has played this season, he has scored. But maybe Mikel Arteta had very good reasons as to why he started Willian. He said the way Manchester City play and their tactics and the way they attack and so on, he deemed it fit to start Willian. Well and good, we lost the game. A game that, we lost a midfield battle. Alexander Lacazette wasn't going to change anything in that midfield. Right? Because in all the games he has been playing on the pitch, we have been outnumbered in the midfield, we have been outplayed in the midfield. Liverpool, we lost 3-1. He was on that pitch. And we were absolute trash. So, blaming Mikel Arteta, saying that it was disrespectful for Alexander Lacazette, I don't buy the idea. I do not buy the idea. And I just think it doesn't go any further. I just think Arteta starting Willian, that is what he thought. Because, he watches his players in training, he watches his players before the match and so on. So he knows the tactics. And I think we were lucky. We didn't get so many goals. We didn't concede so many goals. I think defensively, his tactics were okay. The problem was he never had a midfield on the day, and the attack was as good as banished. So, Aleko, much appreciated for the comment, but I think he's gone too far. But there is an interesting piece I want to talk about, which is Nicola Pepe. Now, you remember when Raul Sanelli was sacked, one of the reasons that called for investigation was the Nicola Pepe deal, that we paid so much more money than we had to pay for Nicola Pepe, that there could have been some things, some elements of money swindling, elements of corruption and so on in that deal. Now today, Lille president has just confirmed that Arsenal was not the highest bidder for Nicola Pepe. Jesus Christ. And who was it? It was Napoli. They were willing to pay 85 million for the player. And we paid 72 million for the player, 10 million quit. My. What should I say about this? Okay. I know Nicola Pepe is not the player we bought from Lille last summer. Or last summer back one. But if you look at his statistics, man, they're quite decent. He scored 23 goals and 14 assists. That means he engaged in almost 50 goals in that season for Lille. It is no question, and there is no doubt that Napoli and Arsenal fought over this player with high bids. What is more interesting is that the relationship between Arsenal's big men and Lille's big men aided Pepe to join Arsenal. Of course, he had also chosen that he would rather go to Arsenal than Napoli. And so Lille decided that they will not get the 85 million pounds from Napoli. They will go with the 72 million from Arsenal. Now, this is hard to believe. This is really hard to believe. But I think this might be a cover-up story. It might be a cover-up story. The truth is, Arsenal paying 72 million pounds for Nicola Pepe, it is something that is hard to believe. And Napoli paying 85 million for the player. Okay, I choose to believe it because Napoli have spent almost $96 million on Victor Osimhen. He's another African striker, actually blockbuster striker. But I want to believe that Arsenal really wanted to pay the 72 million. I want to believe that this deal was as clean as water, as clean as ice. That it was as transparent as but it's hard to believe. If you ask me, I think in that season I say these words, that Pepe and Harry Maguire were not fit to be bought at the prices they were bought at. And many fans say, of course, when a new player has just arrived at the club, they haven't played any matches, how the atmosphere feels. So fans never thought about that. Now Manchester United fans can see that Harry Maguire is actually not the 80 million pound defender they bought, and we can also see that Pepe was fit for 40 million quid. If it was the start of a new revolution at Arsenal that we had started paying or spending after buying Pepe, we wouldn't have problems buying Houssem Aouar then. we wouldn't have problems buying Thomas Partey, because it should have been the trend, but it wasn't. There is something that, you know, Arsenal and whatever kind of management board is trying to hide through the media. And of course, if you look at football.london, they don't write opinions. Basically, they write what the club gives them. They have produced this story, yeah. They are trying to show us that Pepe is actually worth more than we got him. They are trying to, you know, hold us, you know, give us this opinion that we are lucky to have Nicola Pepe at 72 million. If he had only proved to be what he was last season, but one, I would say we were lucky, but we were not really lucky. 72 million was too much money. Too much money. I don't know why Napoli were willing to pay that money. Maybe because it was in installments. Because I think for Napoli, what they can do, they'll buy a player, use him for 2 seasons. They will sell him, get a portion, give to the parent club, and then get another portion of the money and reinvest in them, you know, in themselves. I think that's what they do. We shall see it with Victor Osimhen. I don't know why they didn't sell Kalidou Koulibaly. I don't know why. Because that is their doing. The Edson Cavani's and the others. That's what they have been doing all through. But this Nicola Pepe deal has a lot of things to, you know, to think about. He's a quality player. I love him. I love him. He's one of the players I really love at Arsenal because he gives us something different. When he gets that ball, you see that, you know, he doesn't do the ordinary like most Arsenal players do. They do the ordinary. There are very few Arsenal players that are extraordinary in that, you know, starting lineup for Mikel Arteta. Maybe Ben Leno, maybe Gabriel. Who else? Tierney does the ordinary. Most of the other players do the ordinary. Xhaka, Ceballos, it's Pepe, and now these days Aubameyang has also started doing the ordinary. So I love him so much, but that deal, Arsenal is trying to, you know, make us believe that somehow we were lucky to have Nicola Pepe at 72 million. It's not true. This is media trying to feed us with images that we should take to be the truth. It isn't the truth. Pepe's deal should have been around at most £50 million. By then, we have seen players with better statistics. 23 goals, 15 assists. Henrik Mkhitaryan did that. For Christ's sake, he was not £100 million. Probably we were lucky. But anyway, our 25-man squad has been produced for the Premier League. No Mesut Ozil, like I said, and I think there is no Socrates Papastopoulos. We'll be discussing that, I think, tomorrow early in the morning. I'll be dropping another video, I think, about the Arsenal scouting. Who should we buy? That midfield needs a lot of repairing, and I'll be discovering so many players. Maybe Arsenal will buy one of them. I just hope so. But I hope our dressing room never gets torn apart. Media has already started. I just think Mikel Arteta needs to get very, very strong.